This video I'm going to be taking apart Victoria Vicky FM38 engine, or it's also can be an FM38L engine. In most of the Victoria Vicky 2s that I've seen, there's actually a petrol tank sits on the carrier here, and the engine is attached down here. But in this case, this came off of a bike that actually had, it was actually sitting on the back of the bike, but the engine that was on this was very rusted, and this one is replacing the engine. So what I'm going to be doing is, I have a second engine here. I don't have the aluminium cover for it, but I'm going to be taking the engine apart. So this video is taking apart and putting back together, probably on a separate video, of a Victoria Vicky FM38 or 38L engine. These are pictures of the Victoria FM38L. This is the men's model, and this is the ladies' model. They're exactly the same, except obviously for the bar here. So as I said, that the engine was normally fitted on the back of the bikes. As far as I know, these are called the Victoria Vicky 1, and then when the 2 model came out, the engine was put here. So that's the bike that I have there, the Victoria Vicky 2. So these are instructions, they're in German. I haven't been able to get one in English yet. So I'm going to go through it anyway. As you can see, this is the exhaust pipe here, and this is it here. That's the complete unit. And it's made up of a kind of a head unit. This basic pipe here, this is the end piece here. There's a bar that goes through. This is the baffle. That bar goes through, and it's held in place by this bolt here. So I'll take that bolt out there now first, so that I can take this out. I'm taking off the rotor cover there now off the dynamo, and it's a 14mm socket. And to get it off, it's clockwise. The threading is clockwise to get it off, and anti-clockwise to put it on. Obviously, because of the rotation of the rotor, which goes that way. Right, so I'll just pull that off there now. It's not like a quickly where you have to use a pullers. Now, I don't think that this is actually the correct rotor cover that should be on it. On another one, there was a slightly narrower one with a slope here. It was roughly the same length out to here, but it was sloped off here much more. I've actually put it on in the other bike, and it spins around inside the cover better. So this may not be the correct rotor cover for this, so I'll just pull it off there anyway. There's a spring washer inside there as well. It's not coming off that easy. So that's it. Now this is the electrical unit. Somebody has obviously taken the coil off of it, the condenser, the lighting coil, and the points. So that comes off by undoing that screw there and that screw there, and this should be attached there for this generates the electricity to the lights, if there are lights on the bike. Now on the one I have, there's actually no lights on it, headlight or taillight, but the light for lighting the headlight and the taillight is connected here and goes through the frame. So I'm going to take off that now next. That's the dynamo unit coming off there now. There are the two screws that are holding it in place. That's the other one there. Right, so the important thing with this now is that there's actually a little spring here which has to go back on, so that's not to be lost. Right, so just looking at it now, I'll take the carburetor off next, and then I'll take the head off. So to get the carburetor off, I must undo this screw down here, which holds it onto this little unit here, which is part of the engine. And it's actually not part of the engine, it's a separate unit itself that has two little bolts on it. So I'll probably take that off next. So that's the carburetor off anyway. And I think I saw a symbol on it somewhere, yeah, a Victoria symbol, which shows that is actually an original one. I think it's called a Gertner carburetor. I'll take that apart later on. Now these are actually 9mm nuts, so you'll need a 9mm spanner to get them off. And there are special little lock, kind of a lock washer on them. This one, the lug is broken off of it. So there's a little gasket on it there as well. So that's it. I'll take the head off next. So there are four. They turn out to be actually 8mm, so I've put on an 8mm. Yeah, 8mm to get them off. This is actually the decompressor to stop the bike. You can see you can press it down, there's a spring on it, and it pushes down a little valve kind of a unit, and it turns the engine off. That's the only way to turn it off, other than turning the petrol off. Right, so I'll continue to take the four of them off and see what it's like. This is the lever for pressing the bike off. So you have a decompressor cable going up to the handlebars. On the bike that I've completed there, you can see the decompressor cable. It's coming down, it's attached down below inside there. The little nipple on the end of it is hooked in there, and it comes up here onto a decompressor cable. So when you pull this lever here, it pushes down on that, and it stops the engine. Now that's the four bolts off, and it looks like there are four washers. They're not spring washers, just ordinary washers down there. So I'll turn the engine upside down now to get them to fall out. I'm just taking out this gasket here off the carburetor just to try and salvage it. It appears to be in reasonably good condition, but I have sets of them ordered anyway. So I'm putting all the various pieces into separate boxes. So this is the head after coming off, and you'd see when I press this here, this little lever goes in and out there to turn the engine off, to let out the pressure. Right, the next thing to do is to take off the top head, and to do that there are four special kind of bolts there that must be undone, and you have to pull the head up as it goes. Now luckily enough the piston goes up and down. I must take off this gasket here. Actually I'll leave the gasket there, I won't take it off. Now I'm working away here undoing these nuts. They're actually 10mm So you need a 10mm spanner for them. So I'll just keep working on the 4 of them. There, the other 2 there. I've just noticed on the upper head that there's a kind of a unit goes on there. I'll show it you on the other bike there now. That actually works the gears. As far as I know, this is the gears. I'm not an expert now on these things, but it's a shame now that that little piece is broken off there, because the barrel itself is absolutely perfect inside it. I'm now taking off the sprocket so that I can get in here. Hopefully this is where one of my main reasons for taking this engine apart is to find out how the gear operates in here, because on this one I can't actually get it to go into, no, I don't have the correct 3-stage gear lever, so I'm waiting on something like that to arrive, and it pulls the gear shifting down there, that unit there with the spring on it, and it's supposed to give you a first gear, neutral, and second gear. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to see all that inside there. Now I have to take the piston off. I wasn't going to, but to be able to stop the sprocket from moving around. Like so. I'll be able to put a screwdriver through the top of the conrod so that I can undo this nut here, which is probably 19. No, it's only a 17mm. Now the sprocket is pretty badly bent, and I've damaged it trying to hold it because the engine seems to be in neutral, and even though I held down the piston it was still turning. But anyway, I'll have to get a new one, and you can see that it sits on a kind of a spline. It goes down into that spline there like that. When I took it off as well, that's the nut, and there was a washer underneath it. Now it looks maybe as if there was pieces on the end of it here. I don't have the spare parts for that, the spare parts list, but I'll see if I can source one of those sprockets. Right, the next thing to do now is to take this cover off here and see what's going on inside there. That's the cover off there now, and there's actually a 15 24/7 oil seal on it. Now I'm not sure if the gasket is after coming apart in 2 pieces or if there's 2 gaskets. It looks like there's a gasket on there, and it looks as if there's a gasket on here, but I'd imagine there should only be 1 gasket there, but look, I'm not sure. So anyway, it shows the conrod mechanism here, which is very unusual. And I still can't see the gear mechanism, which is here. It appears to be in neutral, as I said, at the moment. So I'll have to take the casings apart just to see what's going on. Right, to get this conrod out, it looks as if I've got to take off a circlip here. Now I've turned the engine around and I'm going to take off this casing here. There's 4 bolts and it looks like a screw, 2 screws holding it. Right, I'm taking the oil out of it now, and because it's spilt all over the table there, so I'm just undoing this nut underneath, which is a 17mm bolt. Sorry, it's a 19mm. So I'm going to turn it upside down and put it into this here. Now the nuts came off, 3 of them, but this one here, the whole bolt is after threading out. So I'll just put it into the box, and I must take out these 2 screws. I think it'll come apart then at that stage. Right, it's starting to come apart there now, and I want to be careful because sometimes when you do these things, little pieces fall out and you don't know where they've fallen from. That's the gasket. Okay. Right, up it comes. So there's a bearing in there. I'll have to check that out and probably change it. And here we have the gear system. So I'll have to take out these wheels and see what's going on. The one just comes completely out, like so. I'll fiddle around with that now before I film it, just in case that I start to lose bits and pieces. Right, this seems to be a locking collar here that actually comes off, like so. And I'll keep it the way that it comes off now, so that's up. There's a little pin here. Oops, there's a ball bearing after falling out of there now. So I'll just put it into my tray and pick up that ball bearing first now before I carry on. Right, now the engine still has the conrod in it. Now, I've done it all already, so I know what I'm doing at this stage. So what you have to do to take this out, you have to take off the little gear actuation thing on top here, which has, I think it's about a 10.5mm, because the 10 won't open it, and that's an 11mm spanner. And you'll see on that there that it's actually grooved. That's what changes the gears. Right, it's a little spindle that goes down in there, so take that off. On the bottom there's a screw. You have to take that screw off as well with a 14mm spanner. Now I'm loosening it there and taking it out. All it is this is what the gear change unit inside, which you'll see in a minute, pivots on. So this is at the bottom and that's at the top. So now I can take this out. And to get it out, you have to hit it here with a rubber mallet, not with a hammer, because you'll damage the threads here. So a rubber mallet. I'll give it a tap now and it'll come out. So out it comes. Now what happened is, this is the gear actuation unit. This is the screw that goes in at the top, because it's serrated, the same as that is. And this goes in the bottom, in through the casing, and it just goes in there like so and holds it in position. So it just pivots around that. Putting it back together, you have to do the same thing. You put this on. This piece actually can come off. I'll just get it off there now with a screwdriver. I'll try it by hand. Now it comes off. So I'm taking out the circlip. And then this washer. And there are all the needle bearings behind it. Needle bearings is the word I was looking for. So I must knock all these out now, and then I can take out the conrod and it can be pushed through from the other side then. Right, I've knocked out the needle bearings, and there are 3, 5, 9, 12, 16 of them. That's the special washer. And now the conrod itself can come out. So that's all open now, there's nothing to stop it from coming through. So I'm going to put all those into a box there now so that I don't lose them. As I said, I must now hit this with the rubber mallet and push it through, and the whole unit will come out. And I know that there are more. I didn't need to hit it with a hammer to start to coming out. So I'll just take this up off of it. And they didn't fall apart this time because I'm after putting grease on them to hold them in place. These are all the needle bearings. These will fall out. They would have fallen out, which they did the last time, but when I put them back on, I put grease on them to hold them together. So that's the conrod, or the crankshaft, whatever you like to call it, out. Put it in there with the other part of it. So that's it. I must change this bearing. I must get a new bearing for there, and I must give it another bit of a clean up. So that's it for taking it apart. I think that was all the main parts of the engine. The only thing that's missing, as I said, is the cover. I don't have a cover. I didn't get a cover with the engine, so I must try and locate one of them. Again, going back to the gear change, this is the screw on top. This is what's changing the gears, and for some reason on this engine you can just keep pulling this thing and it just doesn't do anything. So it's possible that the cogs down here are broken, so I've ordered one to fix it. I didn't want to open that engine, but I'll have to. So anyway, I'm just going to finish off cleaning this engine, and then once the gaskets arrive, I'm going to put it back together. I'm just going to push out that serrated pin that actually changes the gears there, just to see what it's like. And it appears as if it only pushes inwards. So there it is. So that's the pin. I've ordered a couple of them from Sweden, as it turns out. Now it looks as if the top is quite badly worn, and the inner section that was inside looks to be in good shape. So it's probable that these need to be changed every so often. So that's the end of taking it apart. I took out the bearing out of it there, which is it's a 6201. 6201. Yes, 6201. Right, and I'm just cleaning up the casing now as well before the gaskets arrive.